Yeah, I definitely want an arch lighter. Like, I definitely
Arch.
want one of those. Arc
They,
or arch? Which one is it?
I think it's the arc.
You get a little closer to the mic. You gotta be close to these mics. I'm sorry,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
because I can barely hear you. But
Can you hear
arc,
me now?
yeah,
Cool.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Arc lighter,
Arc lighters, yeah.
electric
Oh, Infinity lighter
infinity lighter.
is the brand, but the arc
I
lighter
like that.
is the model.
100% gonna start buying one.
Start buying them, investing.
Billions upon billions. Speaking of investing,
Speaking of it,
I want to know your take on this GameStop thing. I want to dive into it.
okay. Well, what do you know about it off the rip? Do you know? Kind of summarize what you know.
Basically, what I know from the get-go is you had these oh my gosh.
These headphones.
I thought I said fudge. That's why I laughed. Hedge funds. I can't say it right now. Hedge funds and firms that basically were going to short GameStop and a few others, and a bunch of group of people got together. Redditors. I'm actually on the Wall Street Bets. I've been on it before.
Okay.
It blew up.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew about that shit happening.
But
they wanted to go together and basically drive the price up, because then the hedge firms and funds. Sorry, this is stupid right now. I cannot speak right now. But it's just not gonna be good. But they would close on their shorts, given the infinite risk of the shorts, and basically have to buy the shares back at a premium price if we're driving up even more, yada yada yada. Therefore, you get diamond hands, which is this term where like the stock just keeps going up.
I love it.
But then you had Robinhood and others stop and halt trading on, I think, last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago, and now we're at the price it's at now, where it's lowered. A lot of people sold off.
Yeah. So basically, a bunch of these big financial institutions, these big hedge funds, they
thank you for speaking correctly.
You're good. So they have all this money, right? And so something that's a very sound and easy investment for the most part is they're called legacy businesses, things like Blockbuster and GameStop, that are going to be forced out of business because everyone buys their games online now. People don't buy stuff like, especially look how Blockbuster got taken out by streaming services.
Yeah, like Netflix and Hulu. Mm-hmm.
So they'll invest in companies like that. They'll short it, which is they're basically betting that the price is going to go down. They sell all of these shares when they open their position. They sell all of these shares, and then they just have to buy them back at a later date. And there's like some terms to the contract. Maybe it's like 2 years or something. But the idea is you could sell it for $8 and then buy it back at $4 2 years later, and you keep the intermittent profits. So typically they like to keep those positions open as long as they can, because it's a business that's going to fail eventually. It's just kind of on the decline. So they want to be able to sell it at today's price, which is ideally the highest price it'll be at in the future, and then buy it back somewhere down the line once they've continued their decline. So basically a lot of these hedge funds bet on that, and people on Wall Street Bets, they realize that there's the highest shorted stock was GameStop, and it also has a low market cap, so the total amount of money in it isn't a lot, so it's easy to make big price movements with not nearly as much money.
Okay, I did not know that part.
Yeah, so like you couldn't do that with something like Apple, because Apple's worth $2.2 trillion or so. To even double the stock price, you would need $2.2 trillion.
Right.
But for GameStop, it was like $5 billion or something like that. So to find, I mean, $5
a very small number in the grand scheme. I mean, in the scheme of Wall Street, it is, but
according to Wall Street, it's not that much. And so, that Reddit Wall Street Bets, they identified that, and so they just started buying up as many shares as they possibly could to just skyrocket the price.
Yeah.
Because they saw that a lot of these hedge funds, they owed their shares. Like within this week, they had to buy them at some point, which is what the short squeezes. Basically, just means that a company,
you're forcing them to buy it at the higher price.
They have to buy. Like a short squeeze happens when it's more of a mechanic of the market. So like a financial institution owes 50,000 shares, or maybe like 100,000 shares, and so there's not that many shares being sold at the market. So people have like maybe there's only 75,000 being traded at that one moment in time, they might have to pay people on their limit order. People have these orders that say, I'm going to sell it at this price if it hits it. So they may just have to buy it at that price because there's not enough available, and it raises the price. So, so these people on Wall Street Bets, they bought it up, they raised the price. All their contracts are pretty much ending in this week that we just ended.
Yeah, just went past.
And so they had to buy back these shares. They had to close the positions by the end of the week. They're legally obligated to do so. So they probably sold the shares a while ago, 2 years or so ago, at like $8, and they're required to buy it back at this like $300 price, which is, I mean, it cost them billions and billions of dollars in losses.
Right.
But the thing that's kind of shady about it, where it starts getting weird, is so obviously Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, Webull, all these other like online no-fee brokerage services that the bulk of a lot of people use because it's very
the bulk
easy.
Of retail investors, as they say, which
yeah.
is average people at home, mom and pop, like me and you, not firms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so for people that don't know. I'm sorry, not trying to.
No, you're good. And so, so they shut. Robinhood was one of the biggest ones, and the reason that they're kind of in the spotlight of this is, so as soon as they shut off trading and being able to buy GameStop, the price of the share dropped all the way. It was at maybe $400. It went all the way down to $120 at one point.
Right.
So they essentially crashed the market. Quotes on that, but where it's kind of sketchy is, so Robinhood, right? They have to buy and sell their trades through somebody.
They have a margin call.
Yeah, so that's what they're saying it is.
I mean, that's the term, but you're explaining it in better terms.
Well, saying something a little different.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the reason that they said after, is because they needed to put up more cash for all of these shares that people were going in and trading and stuff like that. Essentially, the banks that like support them, and so, but they need to buy and sell their shares through someone as well. They need a broker, so they use someone called, I believe it's Citadel is who they use. Who Citadel owns Melvin Capital Hedge Fund, who is the number one financial or hedge fund shorting GameStop. So where it's like a conflict of interest is this company that owns the hedge fund that's the biggest shorter in GameStop, who also kind of controls this big section of the market, just shut trading off. So you can't buy any of the shares, you can only sell.
Right.
But if you can't buy any of the shares and you can only sell, who are you selling to? You're probably selling to these hedge funds because they have their own, and financial institutions because they have their own brokers and they can just put in orders, but we couldn't, like common people can't put in orders for it. So that's where it kind of gets sketchy, and the SEC has to definitely look into that. That's a huge thing with it.
If I'm correct, wasn't Citadel and them denying that they have any involvement? From what I remember reading, they were denying, like, we're not a part of Robinhood. Why would we?
They're not gonna fess
no,
up
they
to
never
it.
would.
And another thing is, like Robinhood, they want to look good to a lot of these hedge funds and financial institutions because they themselves have an IPO coming up. They're gonna go public.
Yeah, I did hear that.
So they want to have good relationships with these people because those are the people who are going to invest the most money into them and make sure their IPO goes off because they want to make the money too. Yeah, it's a hell of a situation, really. I think it's awesome. I love seeing it.
I'm definitely into it. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's not anything.
Sparks my interest.
It's not anything like atypical either. I think it started in the 70s. They were called bull rushes, where a bunch of these wealthy investors would get together and they would all buy at the same time to bump prices up and then basically just dump it. And so that's something that's been going on for a long time, at least 50 years. And now when people actually do it is when it becomes a problem.
And I think that's where most people are very angry at, is that situation you just described. And that's what made me angry. It was like, you guys have been manipulating the market. That's the other term that makes me laugh, is they're like, these Redditors are manipulating the market. And it's like, that's what you do every day. Yeah. And now, but and they use a different term for it. They don't ever call it manipulation. Now, why would they? So when they called it manipulation on the Redditors, I was like, oh, here we go. Like, they're crying wolf. And then they just kept going with it, of like you're saying, the message was like very clear of like, we don't like that normal people are making this money that we're losing out on.
Yeah, it's
when
It's
we've been doing
interesting
this for 50 years.
it's easier to be one person and call them out than when one person does something to a bunch of people, right? So like Robinhood, all these hedge fund managers, they can say like, well, it's not fair because all these people turned against us and they hurt us because we're basically like because they're wealthy individuals. They were targeted essentially, but when they do it to us, there's so many people. You're saying that's just how the market works. That's just the market. Like we're just taking advantage of this or whatever.
Yeah, but like no one knows these hedge fund billionaires, so it's like,
yeah, it's
we're really targeting you. We don't even know who you are. You're in the shadows. You just came lurking out of your cave because you lost some money. You know,
it's very inclusive. The whole financial market's like everything's very inclusive. You're born into a family or you're brought up. Maybe you're very smart and you get into a position and they keep you on. A lot of those firms will actually hire people and then use their connections to wealthy individuals that they know, and then they'll just fire the person. It happens all the time, and it's illegal, but they get away with it.
You're talking like for actual like a broker they bring on.
Yeah,
like Jim has
people like
12 millionaire friends, and they go, Jim, why don't you come work for us? And Jim goes, okay, and then he brings all their money over, and then they fire him, and then obviously the clients are stuck with the fees to move it, and they don't want to. Most people don't want me to pay those fees, but
that is true.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah. Basically, they'll hire people to get their clients, and then they'll just can them, and then they have somebody over them. Like they'll set you up with like a mentor or something like that, and then your mentor calls and says, "Hey, it didn't work out with this person, but I was his mentor and I taught him everything, and I've been working here for X amount of years, and I can just take care of you." And yeah, they don't want to pay the fees to move it because they probably just invested a lot of money, and they don't want to take a loss like that right away.
So you're talking at like the lower level, like when people get like as a regular financial advisor, you're saying at that level?
Yeah.
Or like you get
big companies do that, and it's illegal to do that. You can't just bring people on to access. It's called their natural market. The people that they know and that they bring to the firm in the beginning without like company bought dinners and friends and family type of things.
And the other thing is that you start out, it's very rough because your commissions are low and you're not making a good salary. And a lot of times in order to do a deal, they do pair you up with somebody, and
that mentor
it's split.
Will take
and the mentor or more of it.
50% of your commission sometimes.
Yeah. That's another big thing. 'Cause I remember my dad briefly did it because he had connection at Merrill Lynch to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was, I talked to him about it because I was like, I'm just interested in it, like possibly doing it. And he was like, that's the only thing I'm going to tell you is it's an old person's game. But at the same time, now it's kind of dying down given the new way the markets are going with just these apps and stuff. I mean, it's basically putting regular financial advisors out of business.
If you're young, you have to have some sort of you have to be really, really motivated and very smart, and you have to kind of be able to prove yourself really well, and also be able to sell yourself as to why. Because
like working out like shitty hours, long hours. Like it's not like a
why would I want to invest my money with someone who's only been doing it like 2 years versus somebody who's been doing it 20 years?
That's the other thing.
It's a lot harder. So to develop that client base, like when you're at a younger age, is very difficult. I feel like if you go into it right out of college, and it's more of something that you're not like in love with, it's going to be a lot harder than if you just worked any other financial job in your sector and then went and became a financial advisor, saying that you have a lot of experience in the markets doing things. I feel like it's much easier. Yeah,
you're definitely paying a struggle. I mean, I know we had a friend who did it in New York City, and I mean, for New York City, making like 45, 50,000, which is just for New York City is just shit. Like it is.
Yeah, that's
nothing. And he's
there.
Having to live in like these small ass apartments with like 5 other guys, 6 other guys, just to like get by with rent, and like it's just wild. But and then they have that long period of struggle before they finally might get an account that can put them over. And like you said, it is because it is an old person's game. Same thing with like why would you trust somebody that's only been there for a year or two doing the markets? Like it's hard.
A lot of the time you have to sign non-competes and things like that too. So if you decide to leave that firm or something like that, they may be able to like take your clients from you first before you leave. There's all these different rules with your contract that you sign as to basically like being able to continue your practice somewhere else without them.
Yeah, they almost all companies kind of have that. I mean, to an extent, it's like sometimes if they're like a year or two later you can do it. It's something like that.
Yeah.
They're all different. But do you think with the GameStop situation, though, that were there any hedge funds or firms that were on the other side of it that were helping push that price up? Because I thought I read an article where some firm was, and I don't know if
it's interesting because so retail investors tend to be a lot more risk averse, right? Like they're more willing to just take on risk and take shots at things because they're not as experienced, right? Something that may be very risky, they're just willing to jump in on. In the same way that these went up 100%, there's going to be people that lose lots of money in this too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think it's because they're not risky, or do you think it's because they don't have the responsibility of appeasing customers?
It's a bit of both. I mean, it's like
you can take more risk because you don't have you only answer to yourself. Essentially,
you're going to take a lot more of your own personal risk for sure. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to justify if something like that goes wrong and you're on that side of it, trying to explain to someone why you lost like $10,000 for them because of something that was incredibly risky. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, so institutional investors tend to stick to be very secure in the way that they, like hedge funds, they tend to be very secure in the way that they put their money away and that they allocate their capital. They don't want to like mess around and like these things with GameStop, right? Like if people hadn't done what they did, they would have just continued making billions of dollars off of it just the way that they did it like that. But also at the same time, a lot of very good investors like that are very, very good at realizing the trend and kind of understanding what's happening and being able to make money where they can. What's different about a lot of like hardened investors is that they know when to get in and when to go out, which is the hardest thing for people to know because maybe you just keep getting it's easy to get greedy. It's easy to look at money and be like, oh, I've made this, I could make this amount, and then stay in, and then you end up only making $30 instead of $300.
Do you think that's because of insider trading or the fact that they have better computers? Like, what do you think is giving them that edge, or is this that good?
Like hedge funds
in general, yeah.
They have very smart people. They have a lot of behind the scenes things that they go through. They have a lot of number crunching. They have a different perspective on the market because they're usually friends with insiders. I mean, right. It's illegal to trade on insider information, but it happens all the time.
I'm sure it does.
It happens all the time.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, honestly.
They kind of stack the cards against individual like retail investors in that way that they have all these connections, not necessarily insider trading all the time, but they also have better computers. Their latency is way quicker. I mean, in the time that it takes us to submit a trade, maybe through Robinhood or something like that, maybe like 40 milliseconds or so, but financial institutions can put it within 6-7 milliseconds. They can beat you every single time. So it's a bit of the brain power, it's a bit of the connections, and it's a bit of their equipment too.
I just want to, you brought up how like the quickly the trades can go through during that whole rush on like AMC, Nokia, what was the other, and then obviously GameStop. There was a fourth one I thought, but when I was looking at it, there was a Nokia trade, and I was looking at the price, it was like $3, and obviously it was on the Reddit like everyone we're gonna do Nokia too, and I was like, $3. I mean, I'll put a little bit in. Why not? $3. Like, it's not that much. And then when I clicked like submit, it was like $3.50. I was like, I can't do that. But when I clicked submit, there was so much like backlog and so much data that wasn't coming, so much volume that it couldn't update in time. And when it finally updated, it was like $8.50. So my trade went in at like $8.70 instead, and I was like, this is not what I would not have gotten into $8.70 because
you got to do a different type of buy instead of the market.
You got to do more limit buys, yeah. But I didn't think of going in at all until I looked that day, and I was like, oh fuck it, I'll throw a little bit on there. Yeah, but it was at 3 at the time.
And you wouldn't expect it to more than double within that time.
Yeah, but smart to do. Let's talk about that because that's something that, I mean, people getting into investing might not understand. And I know when I first started, I didn't know what that was. I had my buddy explain it to me. My friend Ryan, shout out Ryan, like explain me what the limit buy was and stuff for real.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different buys and sells. You really wanna have an understanding of what price you want to buy a stock at, and what price you want to sell a stock at. You might not necessarily know what you want to sell it at. You might want to, if you're holding it for a long period of time, you're just holding it until
just waiting
because you believe in it. But definitely, you should kind of look at its history over the last couple months and also the last couple weeks closely, and see what prices has it been at, what's its high low, what's its high been, what's its low been, and kind of find where its average range is. If it's on like a steep incline right now, it might be better to wait until the next dip. But if it's a company that might have a low market cap or might be a fresher company or something like that, then it might be okay to get in when it's up, because the company is just that increase could just be because of a new product that they created. And so there might not be a lot of buzz, and not a lot of people might know about it yet. So it might be okay to get in at times like that. You kind of want to consider, where the company is, and there's a lot of factors really, but just doing the research to understand like where a company's at, what they're doing, and try and figure out if you think the price today, if they're overvalued or undervalued.
What tools would you say is the most important for you to look at with that, or how about the most that you look at?
I would say one of them's definitely what's their standing, like how are they doing right now, and also how are they going to be doing in the semi near future. Like companies like Office Depot or something like that, right? Or we'll say like Walmart, right? Walmart, they're great in retail. They kill that sector, but retail is a kind of a difficult sector, and they're also being cut out by Amazon a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So they have how are they going to compete with Amazon? So I know they have a big online web service. They have one of the best algorithms for their system. When you scan things, when you check things out, it's all automated, so you know exactly how much product is everywhere. So their supply chain is really good. You kind of just want to look at if they have solutions to the problems that they face, and like are they going to be competitors in the future? Like if they're like, since they're going up against Amazon, could Amazon crush them at some point? And the thing with Walmart is they have a solution to that, but other companies may not, like
Target,
Office Depot or Target. Yeah, in the same way. Just because they're big now doesn't mean they're going to be big 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something important to look at, is like what their current and their future standings is going to be. I would also say whether you think they're overvalued or undervalued. Like you want to look at their market cap, their market capitalization, which is the total amount of money in the firm, and then compare it to if there's other businesses that do the same thing, compare it to their market cap to get an idea of, what share of the market that this company has and how much do you think it could get with its products, right? Like if
I feel like the EV market's a perfect example for that.
Yeah,
like
so
Tesla,
like,
this
exactly.
the hegemon,
So
everyone
like,
knows.
Like electric, right? So if someone created an electric car tomorrow that did 1,000 miles per charge, charged it in 30 minutes, every EV would pretty much be out of there, right? So they could take over maybe that company, their market cap is like half of what Ford is or something like that. Then you could assume that if they came out with a product like that, their market percentage, they would take over the market completely pretty much, or a very large percentage of it. So you want to look at that when you're looking at other companies to try and figure out how, what's a comparative price for them? Like where do they fit in the market with the products that with their future, like what does it hold? So market cap's a big thing to look at as well. Something if you're trying to look at when to buy, something that's good, and sometimes when to sell as well, is something called RSI. It's the Relative Strength Index. It basically takes the prices over a 2-week period, and it tells you what percentage essentially it's moved up versus its average price.
Okay.
So anything below 30 RSI is pretty much it's been oversold. Anything above 70 is typically that it's been overbought. Now the thing with that is it works on a 2-week scale. So maybe if a company on day 7 had came out with a brand new product that's going to revolutionize their company, then the RSI could be 100 or something like that. It could be very high, but it's still justifiable. Okay. So you kind of want to be able to.
So you kind of have to compare that with real world, with their news.
You want to use. You want to kind of like put together qualitative and quantitative data, and kind of create a picture as to what you think's going on. And then grander than that, you kind of want to look at the economy and the stock market as a whole. If things are doing well, if things are not doing well. If indexes like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ haven't been doing well, then maybe this company might not be. It might not be their time. You might be able to wait a few more months or something.
How long do you think this can keep going green?
I have a very looming feeling because I feel like America's becoming even more and more kind of separated, and I think our economy.
What do you mean by separated?
I just feel like
division between each other.
I think
mean?
people. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're like more. I think people politically, racially, wealthily. I don't know whatever that term.
I know what you're trying to say though. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone's very divided right now, and I think that's having a big effect. I think that's going to have an effect on the market moving forward, because people are going to be a lot more sensitive with things, and I think that's going to change the dynamic, as well as people need money. COVID has not been going away. I mean, we have vaccinations for it, but it's not nearly at the speed that we anticipated. And then even with that, I saw people, I mean, I'm sure they're probably bullshit graphs, but basically it's talking about how we still may need, even vaccination might not be enough. We need to have like
I saw that too,
and like we need to stay inside still.
Yeah, which shit confuses me.
Yeah.
Why do we? I mean,
like if vaccinations are working, why do we need to do? It's because we can't vaccinate people fast enough. But why can't we vaccinate people fast enough? It shouldn't be that hard.
Well, because they're not the company.
The
companies are all arguing over prices and.
So that's what I'm saying, because there's so much shit going on.
Uncertainty right now.
Yeah, there's so much uncertainty and volatility in the market that I feel like there's definitely something's going to happen. I know prior to COVID happening and COVID happening, Warren Buffett was sitting on the largest amount of cash he's ever sat on since the 2000s.com boom, or that crash. So he's kind of in the same way that he doesn't see things going great sooner in the near future. I definitely feel like we're kind of lulled into a sense of like security with investing right now.
I do. Yes, I understand that. I agree with that as well. I think truthfully, I thought halfway through the Trump presidency that the stock market was going to go down. That was like my prediction. Miraculously, it did not. I don't know if that was because the market felt confident with him or not. There's arguments for both sides, considering it was very volatile during his presidency. But it's almost like COVID was that crash, and almost also was the savior of a potential crash. Because yes, the market crashed, but it only crashed because of things grinding to a halt, not because of actually a financial bubble.
Yeah.
And then it delayed the inevitable bubble, in my opinion, because of the stimulus checks and stuff and pumping money into the stock market that propelled it. But all that does is create a bigger bubble for when the actual bubble comes. So,
yeah.
And I mean, one of the guys I've listened to, or who I like, is Peter Schiff, I think. I'm familiar with him. Well, he has like a podcast, and he's a financial advisor, but he talked about why he thinks it's going to crash, and he has reasons why he thinks the dollar will be devaluated given all these stimulus checks and yada yada. But it's been pumping for a while. It feels like it just has been. So it's like, oh, when's it coming? And
yeah, see, COVID was interesting because at first COVID really it did crash the market. And there was so much uncertainty because people didn't understand like what was going to happen, what was like
how long it would be for. Was
be,
it that deadly?
And we didn't even know anything about it. It's like you were learning new stuff about it every single day, and then companies needed to adapt. Right, it kind of sped up the rate of change as to which
it did do that. Yeah,
like companies would survive, and technology as well. So it's like maybe like people like Office Depot and Staples, like how they've been affected. Right, people are probably using a lot less like paper products. Because they're working on their tablets, they're working on Zoom for a lot of things. They may not have to take as many notes, things like that. Like, so that industry is taking a hit. So it's kind of been, with the acceleration in technology and mainly the implementation of technology, I feel like that has been a big game changer in the market. And so that's why some stocks like Amazon, is profiting right now. Their costs are going up. They're kind of struggling a little bit logistically, but they did well with COVID because all their stuff is remote. They're just dropping packages off, and everyone didn't want to leave their house, so everyone's buying everything online. I know 58% of American households have Amazon Prime.
Really? I didn't know that stat.
It's outrageous. It's absurd.
Do you have it?
Huh?
Do you have it?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you have the student thing, or do you pay for it?
No, my mom pays
for it. Your
mom
has it. You're using the family plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny is I don't think I would ever buy it. Maybe because I haven't had the
Depends.
luxury of anyone else having it, where I'm like get used to that like packages in 2 days type of stuff.
You get your stuff pretty much immediately. You also get pretty much the cheapest prices for it.
It's just weird to me. Like I don't have a desire to be like, oh, I want it in 2 days. Like I like to like wait for it, and then it comes in like 2 weeks. Like it comes in late, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like more excited for it. I'm like, sweet, it's finally here. Like in 2 days, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's here.
You know, I don't like waiting, but I definitely like being able to go to like a store and like buy whatever I want. Right? If I wanted like a pair of shoes, I'd prefer to go to this, maybe not Vans or something, because I know what they all feel like, and I might be buying the same pair for the 6th time, but. You know, I like going to the store and like seeing what I'm buying and like taking it home with me. I feel like as people born in the 90s, that's I feel like that's going to be something that's just us. And I feel like a lot of people, our kids, are just going to be like, why the fuck would you go to a store?
Yeah, why wouldn't you
just order it? It'll be at my house.
You know how much land that takes up?
Yeah, you know.
we want to build a forest there. That's what they would say, build a forest.
Build a forest.
Yeah. It's going to be man-made forests once all these buildings get destroyed. Because you gotta plant the new shit somehow. They tore it down. You gotta replant it.
Absolutely,
dude. It's a study where there's like the most trees and plant life ever. Like,
that can't be true.
I swear to God,
we've cut down a lot of it.
We have, but at the same time, it's like there's more trees in the world now than there were before. I don't know how to explain it. Let me just, we can just look this up. For it. Let's see what happens. How do I do this again? Oh, yeah.
Shout out to all the trees.
Shout
out all the pears.
Trees are pretty dope.
I like them.
Am I looking it up again? Are there
how many? Are there more trees now than there were however many years ago? I don't necessarily know if trees are the problem.
What would the problem be?
Cruise ships.
Oh, in the United States, there are cruise ships are the problem.
Listen to this stat, right?
I'm in. Let's dive into cruise ships.
What's about the environment, really? So
that's part of cruise ships. Yeah.
So Carnival Cruise Lines, they produce more carbon emissions in 1 year than the entire continent of Europe's cars. All of the cars in Europe, granted they don't necessarily drive as much as people in America, all of their CO2 is Carnival produces more just running their like 25 cruise ships every year than all of Europe.
10 times more pollution. That's nuts.
It's outrageous, and it's because they're headquartered in these very small countries, and they represent basically the entire GDP of the firm. They create some jobs. They basically make these people on this island like wealthy, even though they're still on the island.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily change a whole lot, but they basically just get to give the middle finger to like any rules that they want, and it's pretty crazy.
Dude, this is the exact article. That's fucking wild. Then all of Europe's 260 million cars. What?
Yeah.
It's
outrageous. So
one
people are always like
47 cruise ships.
Everyone's like,
what the hell?
It's so everyone's like, we need electric cars. We need no cruise ships. You guys need to stop going to Cabo and fucking Cancun.
Hashtag no cruise ships.
Hashtag no cruise ships.
I mean, hey, and COVID almost did take them out.
Yeah, their cruise ships are, dude.
Isn't that what people were saying about like Venice and stuff? They're like, the water's blue again. The dolphins are back in the canals.
Yeah, Carnival was struggling. See, that's if you guys you want to take everything in the market, you want to use that as experience, because when something like COVID hits, these big companies like Carnival Cruise, like, we're not going to stop flying on planes. We're going to be flying on Southwest or American Airlines.
I took a flight
again.
I've already taken my flight. Yeah,
people are going to start flying again. It's not like that's gonna go anywhere. So when the price of the stock drops by like 30% or something like that, you need to get in there, because they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. When it drops low, that's something I wish I got into, was like Spirit Airlines and Southwest, because they were just dirt cheap. Like,
and they're still going to be going up for the next however long, because they were undervalued and oversold. Look at this. Venice is on the chart for one of the top polluted ports in all of Europe. Southampton. Isn't that in England?
You ever been on a cruise ship?
No.
They are fun.
Who the fuck's...
I mean, I hate to say it now that I know this statistic, but they are quite fun.
Yeah, dude,
just kidding. They're horrible. Bears, people, bro. Don't go.
I hate polar bears, too.
What?
No, I mean I'd totally go on a. What?
You don't like the Coca-Cola polar bears?
No, I mean I'd definitely go on a cruise, but I mean, hey,
It's just nice.
we should do something about it.
At
least find them a bunch of money and make them plant trees or something.
Yeah, they need to do something. Yeah, I'll agree to that. It is nice though when you go on those. The only reason I think it's nice is because you just don't really have to plan it.
Yeah,
like every once in a while, that's nice for you to go on a trip and just not have to worry.
Everything just goes right in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, I like planning out trips and like doing. Oh, we're gonna do this day and this day. But then there's sometimes where I'm like, where someone else takes over the planning, and I'm like, thank God. Like I will just enjoy. And I'll. You need $100 for that? There you go.
You're like, I'm just trying to relax.
Yeah. I'll pay my part. You just let me know when to pay. That's it. I don't have to worry about anything else. Like, but there is something nice about that where it's like we don't have to. Like there's nothing you have to worry about on a cruise ship, and you can just stuff your face. You can buy the drinking package and just drink all you want. I mean, that sounds
like my dream, really. I mean, I don't understand why.
What more do people want?
That's why retired people go on them all the time. I'd go on. I'd just live on a cruise ship, really. Give me the monthly.
As a retired person, you're just like, I'll just pay a monthly stipend.
Okay, fuck it,
dude. Have you noticed? It seems like a lot of people are going to Tulum, Mexico.
Tulum?
Have you seen that on Instagram?
Not really. I've been seeing a lot of people going to Nashi. Shout out Nashville.
Okay, I have seen that too.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, which I don't know why. Nashville's beautiful. It's actually one of my favorite cities.
I just don't know why it came up all of a
sudden.
But
why a lot of people are going. I mean, it is. I mean, I've gone twice, and it I guess it's kind of a hidden gem in a sense because people don't go to it that much, but it's beautiful. It's got a river walk. It's got Broadway where all the bars are and shit. Like it is a poppin' city, but now it seems like people are just going up. And I know some of the like frats used to go up. One of them did for some event, but other than that, I used to go to New Orleans and like.
Yeah, I haven't been to New Orleans. I really want to go to
New Orleans. Nola's fun. Nola's fun.
I do really.
It's disgusting, but it's fun.
Hey, I mean, I'm down to get a little grimy every once in a while.
This Bourbon Street is just nasty, dude. There's like, by the end of the night, there's so much like cups and just garbage on the ground.
See, I love shitty things. You always have to appreciate.
I love shitty things
because the thing is, it's like if you have like a beat down car, bro. You could be like, fuck it, hit my shit. Like I don't care.
Oh,
like
you can get reckless with it. I get what you're saying.
Like you just have to appreciate because you paid like nothing for it. You might as well just enjoy the hell out of it and beat something up. I love shitty things. You got to appreciate them.
I've never looked at it in that perspective, but that's honestly that car analogy is perfect. Because like when you do have a shitty car, you're just like a door handle can come off.
Dude, you're just praying somebody hits you so you can fucking
get a new one.
you can turn it into a fucking
get that new one.
Direct deposit, bro. You're just trying to like beat down on your shit. You're like stepping on the brakes extra hard in the rain, like
you're pulling out in front of people, like I didn't see you there. Sorry.
Fuck it. Maybe if I hurt my arm, I'll get some more money.
Shittiest car. You're a car guy.
What, like currently, or does like ever design wise?
Let's go with whatever. Now I'm curious.
I really hate the Pontiac Aztec. That's one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen in my life.
Pull this bitch up.
This is gonna be a puke warning for anybody listening right now.
You said Aztec, right?
Yeah.
Give me the images, Google. Oh, I know these. Yeah, these are
so. Let me
disgusting.
To anybody listening, let me.
What's the worst color to put on?
ASMR you a little bit of
do this one.
The design. It's kind of like.
That is just nasty.
It's like we're looking at. Oh my god, it's kind of like there's two sets of headlights, and then there's also like two grills on the front. Actually, four of them. Sorry,
4 headlights.
There's like four grills. All these weird headlights. The glass looks terrible. I mean, it's hideous. And look at the back of it. I mean, it kind of looks like a Prius, but if you just made it look way worse.
Yeah, like an SUV Prius. Look at this side. Wait. Look at this side view of it stretched out. Oh, that looks nasty.
Ew. See, why would you ever buy that? Is what I just don't understand it. It's like who in their right mind goes to a Pontiac dealership and says,
Give me the Aztec.
Like, you can't tell me. Like, I guarantee their salesmen, they got in the car. They're like, all right, just drive it. Don't. You can't look at it when you're on the inside.
You want to talk about being offended? Native American people should absolutely be offended about this.
Change the name.
Exactly.
The Pontiac.
Don't get mad at the Redskins. Get mad at the Pontiac Aztec. This thing's disgusting.
Washington football team.
That's why I said don't get mad at the Redskins. I'm making a joke that this is way worse than calling this car an Aztec is way worse than calling a football team Redskins. Yeah. If you guys see this car, you understand.
All they have to do is change their name to they need to change the logo to a potato, Redskin potatoes, and they could get away with it.
The Pontiac Bug.
Yeah, so that car, I can't do it.
One of the worst cars I remember was isn't the Gremlin horrible?
The
Gremlin car. See, I'm not an idiot.
Oh my God, was that made by AMC? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was made by AMC. Yeah, yeah. That and the Javelin. They made 2 cars. Actually, I think they made a couple more than 2 cars, but they're both fucking terrible. It looks like a 3-year-old with Parkinson's drew it. I mean, it's just fucking. It's so bad. It's like if you tried to draw a car.
Isn't the engine or something in the back too?
Probably.
One of these, it's like if it gets hit at all, it just explodes. Yeah. I swear to God, it's either the one you mentioned or this one. Or they're like, if you get hit, it just explodes. Like there's no stopping it from exploding.
I can't believe it. Yeah, that's a terrible car.
What was the one you said? You said the Javelin?
Yeah, the AMC Javelin. That was their other car.
Oh, look at that. That thing it's right there. It's ready to come up.
Yeah, this thing is not.
Now, why do you think this looks bad?
It just looks like...
It looks really stretched out.
Oh,
I do not like that.
It looks like it's wearing headgear. Oh, it's a fucking... when people have braces, but they have the equipment around their face. It looks like that, but for a car. It's bulging. It looks like it's like
this souped up one.
Like the weird quiet kid is trying to smile with braces. That's really mean. I'm going to take that back. Cut that out.
Nothing's getting cut out, just so you're aware.
Everything is. But
I think on the last episode, I said retarded twice. I was like, I can't say that. And I just said it again. I was like, damn it. So again, I apologize.
So I'll be donating $3 to someone offended.
For the kids.
Yeah, for the children.
He always says. We have one friend that always says "fuck kids." That's horrible.
But yeah, this car.
Anyways, this car is disgusting.
It's just bulging.
Yeah, it's got It looks. How do I explain that it has? It looks like it wants to have round edges, but then it also has rectangular edges at the same time. It's trying so hard to have these curves, and it just can't get them. It just can't get them.
It's like a.
Oh, this is that's a good, disgusting picture of it. And it looks bulky on the sides.
It's also shit orange, that color. It's almost like brown. It's kind of like it was orange a long time ago, and now it's just brown.
It also just looks very bulgy.
It is.
It's got some unnecessary thickness to it. Yeah, not good love handles, but yeah.
Not at all.
Oh, I made the wrong one. Well, we're out of it now. Back to cruise ship.
So yeah, those are some bad cars.
Best car.
What? Practically fastest, coolest.
What's your ideal best car?
Oh man. Criteria wise, I'm not sure. Let me think.
I can start naming off names.
Oh, I have plenty of
Nissan, Pontiac.
It's more of for what use? The best track car, the best day-to-day car.
Well, you saw the 3 worst cars we just named.
Design-wise, yes.
Okay, go with the best design-wise then. That's what I think makes it all around.
One of my favorite is Pagani, the Huayra BC Roadster.
How do I spell this?
P-A-G.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was some weird spelling.
A-G-A-N-I.
There you go. I got it.
Pagani Huayra, and then do the BC Roadster. Type that in after it.
Oh, this looks nice. Oh, that is very pleasing.
See, it's this
wow.
This guy named Hiroshio Pagani. Shout out Hiroshio. Yeah.
Shout out Hiroshio.
But so
shout out Hiroshio.
So yeah, he's this extremely
that is just
Italian
sexy.
man. And he
I've never called a car sexy till today.
Sure he's not even
I'm gonna be quite honest with you.
But he just he makes these, and the thing about him is they're hand sculpted. The engines are built by AMG through not Mercedes but through AMG, and so it's a reliable engine. You know, it's not going to be fucked up in any way. And they do all the body, the styling, the interior, things like that. Ooh. The dials, like the gauges. The frame for that, and as well as the nameplate that says Huayra and BC on the back of the car, is all carved out of a single block of aluminum, and it takes over 24 hours for like basically a water jet to cut it out. It's crazy.
A water jet.
So the amount of work that goes into these cars, I mean, they're $3 million plus, but they're very, very pretty cars. They're very cool. They're very fast. I also like the new Tesla Roadster a lot. I think that
new one. I haven't seen the new one actually.
You haven't seen the new one?
I have not.
It came out about 3 years ago. It hasn't.
It's not that new.
Well, it's because it hasn't.
Okay, I'm thinking like in the last like 2 weeks, and I just missed something.
It came out years ago, but it has. It's not like it's not in production yet, so nobody actually has one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Look at the white one right there.
Oh, it's like new.
We didn't really explain the Pagani very much. I'm sorry about that. We'll explain it. You've seen the Tesla Roadster. You know what it is.
Yeah. Not, I think a lot of people do.
Look it up.
It's a good story. That does look. That looks very Tron.
Yeah,
very Tron-like.
And this thing produces ridiculous. Apparently, 10,000 Newton meters of torque, which is astronomical. I mean, probably the most and probably the most right now is maybe like 2,000, somewhere 2,500 maybe. So 10,000 Newton meters of torque. It does 0 to 62 in like 1.9 seconds. 250 mile top speed, up to 400 or 500 miles of range. It's gonna have a 200 kilowatt battery in it, which is, I mean, think about the highest performance Tesla right now has 100. So to have 2 of those battery packs.
So it's got double the range, or just better performance?
Both.
Look at this car. Not to distract you.
It's the
look at the Cybertruck as a police car.
It looks terrible.
That's the future. That literally reminds me of like RoboCop.
I feel like the Cybertruck won't actually go to production, to be honest.
Why do you think that? I think it looks horrible. But yeah.
At first it looked cool, but it doesn't look good. And I don't think a lot of people are going to really buy it and be happy with it in the same way that they are with their other models. I think Tesla's going to come out with a new truck.
It's just like too futuristic.
It's not something that it doesn't represent the brand like they want it to.
And I don't think it represents what truck people like.
It's also, if they were going to do it, I feel like that would have been needed to release sooner. It's still not even in production yet. And I know a lot of people have canceled their orders. They're doing so well with Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y. The Roadster's kind of, I hear Elon say it all the time. He says it's dessert. They're going to work on that like once they've kind of taken all the necessary steps with the rest of the company and what they need.
Yeah, just looking at, sorry, I'm like going back to this.
No, go for it.
But just like the way this looks, like a Ford Raptor looks compared to that, it's just like,
yeah.
From someone who likes trucks, because I used to drive one, it's just like the difference is like.
I feel like they'll scrap it, and I think they'll come out with a new truck in the future. They're also still working on the Semi too. They have a lot of projects going on. They really ramped up.
The Semi will be interesting. That'll change the game.
Volvo just came out with a competitive Semi. I think it just either was put into production or maybe there's a release date for it or something. But it's electric. It's supposed to have like 500 miles of range. It's gonna be insane. You type in.
I know. I realized that afterwards.
It's all good.
Popped up all these gas.
Let's see.
Oh, what?
No, that's not it.
It's
that blue one. See, that only says 150 miles. I could have swore I saw something the other day saying like 500 miles or something. I know it's comparative. It's comparative. It's the only. Sorry about that. It's the only. That was the microphone, not me.
Yeah, I got you. You're good.
No, not you. The people listening.
People are. They can deal with it. I'm screaming sometimes. It happens. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. That's gonna change though, like the game. Do you think we'll have autonomous semi trucks? Isn't that like the big worry? It's the Andrew Yang thing he always talks about. Robots are taking their jobs.
We're still a little bit away from like full autonomy. Tesla is very good at it right now. And you can design it, but it takes so much on the back end right now, like so much support to make sure it actually does. Like you could create an autonomous car that drives from where we are right now to anywhere else that we wanted to the nearest McDonald's, but you'd probably have to program in that route specifically and have the car. I've already driven it once and like track it, and you'd have to do so many different things. It would take so much support that it's not even autonomous because there's so many people supporting it in the background. But I would say probably in the next maybe 5 years, 5 to 10 years, we'll definitely see somewhere close to that. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird because of adaptability, but you know, at one point there were cars and horse and buggy on the road at the same time. And these autonomous cars, they're just going to have to live with the reality of not every car is going to be autonomous, so you need to create the program around
the idea. Yeah, right. The unpredictable. That's the thing that's the issue is how can you build this on the unpredictability of people, other drivers, essentially. I mean, you can build in safety measures and stuff to the best of the ability, but
it's a lot of cameras, a lot of sensors, and that's pretty much it. And you just program in different situations for the car to do different things.
We talked about this in my insurance class, and that's one of the biggest issues why it's not coming to market so quickly is the insurance behind it. It's like they don't know who would be. It sounds stupid, but like they don't know who would be legal.
See, eventually
and whatnot, and will the companies be legal or what? And I'm
liable.
Yeah. What did I say? Legal.
Yeah. Liable.
Legal. I'm gonna say liable. Yeah.
I got you.
I think I combined the two. But yeah, they don't know who would be liable, and therefore they're not willing to give the insurance on those vehicles and those programs yet.
Eventually, this isn't my own theory, it's my dad's theory, but essentially, eventually there's probably going to be a flip with insurance companies once autonomous cars do kind of hit the market and a lot of people have them. I bet they're going to start saying that you're going to be charged more insurance if you have a non-autonomous car because you're much more likely to get into an accident.
That's very true.
Eventually there will be a flip probably with that, but that's not going to happen until probably 10 to 15 years at least into us getting full autonomous cars. So that's a while.
Yeah, for sure. And especially I know how some of them do it is they like try to program by doing different routes, and this car learns the routes and it learns the other streets and it can communicate with the other cars by mapping. Yeah. And there's a company I think in Phoenix that is like taking regular cars, fixing them up and making them autonomous, and then they're like only doing Phoenix though. They're not doing anything else because they're allowing it to like fully map out Phoenix first, and then it'll be like it's their test city and their first city they'll be launching in, and then from there they would go to other cities and do this like almost the exact same thing. So in New York City they introduce these cars slowly but surely, and they build up a mapping system and algorithm can start recognizing traffic patterns, which ways to go, yada yada, and all that stuff. Basically,
that's
what I'm getting at.
Interesting.
And then from there, the city incorporates it, type of thing.
It's gonna be weird. I definitely think I think our kids will probably still have to learn how to drive a car.
I feel like that's good though. That's a big thing, and not that that's like the reason we shouldn't do autonomous vehicles, but like that is a big thing in our lives and our parents' lives, and like for us to drive and learn to drive, and also, so it's like almost like a small rite of passage that everyone kind of goes through.
And imagine if your whole family has to share one vehicle. I guess it wouldn't be that bad though because it would just drive itself back.
Oh, this could be nice.
There you get two, so you you always have a car for you.
Oh, think about like going out wise. You would never have to worry about drinking and driving.
Yeah.
Ever again. That's like just gone.
That's the biggest part behind autonomous driving is there's so many less dangerous scenarios out there.
I could definitely see the scenario where insurance flips now.
Yeah.
I never thought about it in a drunk driving sense. I always thought about it in like a pessimistic of like the vehicle crashing.
You're not going to speed. You're not going to cost the insurance company any money. If the autonomy, and if you do it's not going to cost the insurance company. It's going to cost the company that made the vehicle at that point. They're going to be a lot more liable.
Do you think it would eliminate traffic?
To an extent. It depends. We'd have to restructure our roadways because think about every intersection now, right? Like if you had every intersection all basically one way, so you could move like at an intersection, right? They're one dimensional. Everyone has to go through the same square in the center of the intersection. So if you had maybe like the northbound, southbound underneath the eastbound, westbound lanes, so they had maybe overpasses, and then you had it's called like turn roads to go every which direction from the direction that you're moving in. that would eliminate traffic, but then we'd have to restructure all our roadways, and I don't see that happening.
Well, in a sense, I think it would decrease it though, because
it would decrease it.
So you know how how traffic starts basically. Right?
Well, people just
My mic
stop.
been off
They
this whole
slow
time.
down.
Crazy.
It's been off.
I have no idea.
I don't think.
I just now started to hear myself again, so I hope not.
No, I've been able to hear you the whole time.
Okay, let's really hope. But
yeah, I think you're good.
We're gonna have to deal with it regardless. Fucking with the audio another time. But I'll think about like, well, people slowing down, or it's if somebody is in the far left lane and they see their exit and they cut all 3 lanes over, causing the other 2 lanes to brake, and then it causes a domino effect because at least 4 cars brake, and then the people behind them brake, and the people behind them brake, and then somebody brakes, but instead of braking, they go over to the left.
You know what's interesting about traffic? It would, if everybody just started moving, it would go away.
Oh, it would. Oh, that's the most annoying thing is
everyone just needs to start going at the same rate. We need to all get on the same page, and we need to. I actually saw something the other day that Tesla is going to bring in like hot mics, kind of where you can talk to other Tesla drivers around you if you want to. Not like hot mics on Call of Duty when you kill someone and they call you a slur or something like that. But
they call you a slur.
But I think that's interesting.
Well, I had something to say about traffic. Forgot. What's going on with the wind?
There's nothing like it.
It's horrible. Oh, random dude. I-4. That's what I was gonna get at. Was I-4 random?
I do know I-4
spurts of traffic where you just keep cutting in and out. Random spurts of traffic where, and then you get to a point and it just like stops, and if people go back up to 50, you're like, "Are you kidding me? There's nothing here,
dude." It's yeah.
Like there was literally nothing here. Or when there's a cop car pulled over, not even an accident, just a cop car pulled over, pulling someone over, and people all slow down. And it's like, what are we doing?
I hate that. It's because everyone wants to like get out of that lane, and they just start trying to cut over lanes so that they're not in the lane directly closest to the police officer.
And that is a law, but
kind of. I think
you're supposed to move.
I think you're supposed to, but
maybe it's a respect
if
thing.
You can't, like, what happened? Like, do I
half
get
the
arrested just because I
them,
can't?
so.
Just because I can't get over?
That's true. There's a few times where I'm like, I can't get over. Hopefully you don't walk out of your car. No.
Yeah. So just I-4 things.
It's horrible traffic. I hate it. Traffic is one of the most infuriating things.
Yeah.
To exist, actually. And I can't imagine myself living in LA or New York, because I think if I lived in LA, I would blow my head off.
Yeah, that would definitely be a negative side effect of living in Los Angeles. Traffic is just I hate dealing with it. Everybody hates it.
Everyone does hate it.
Nobody likes traffic, but
some people handle it way worse. I handle it way worse. I'll be honest.
Yeah. It depends, if you're not trying to get somewhere, then at the end of the day, hey, you're just along for the ride. But if you got somewhere to be, then it's pretty infuriating.
Very rarely do I, though. For some reason, I always feel like when I'm like one of those drivers that's just like, oh, I'm on the go. Like I'm moving.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I want to get there.
Well,
like
typically
quickly.
when people drive, they're trying to get somewhere efficiently. And
it's not what I no shit. But like, I mean, by that is like I tend to drive on the fast side.
Yeah.
Like I want to get there quickly.
Most people,
not just efficiently. I want to get there quickly.
That's how most people in Florida feel. Speed limits are suggestions, apparently. You know what's interesting? Not a lot of people really think about it, but every single car, their dashboard displays a speed that is faster than you're actually going, because it's illegal to do the inverse. It's illegal to say you're going slower than you're actually going, because then you would be pulled over for speeding, and it wouldn't be your fault because the car would be under reading. So every single speedometer is actually slightly higher than the speed that you're actually going. Usually by like 1 to 2 miles an hour. Yeah.
So I've never hit 120 is what you're saying.
If you've hit 120,
I'm just kidding.
You've actually hit like 118 or 119.
Yeah. I had never thought about that.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I don't even remember. I just know a lot of things.
You just know that?
Yeah.
That's another random fact.
Give me another cars. One. What's interesting? Have you ever seen basically so maybe you like deadlifted or you stood up too fast, so you have low iron or something like that.
Yeah.
And you see like little tiny white, it looks just like
stars,
particles just kind of like moving around and like wiggling.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what that is, that's actually the white blood cells in your eyes when you're looking at up at like a lot of light.
Okay.
That doesn't the white blood cells that are inside of your eye, I guess they get strained because you, I don't know, did whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what
they're rushed with blood, maybe.
Yeah, your eyes. I don't know, something like that. I just know that those little white particle things, that it's white blood cells. I watched it in a video. That's all I got.
Is that your YouTube content?
Sometimes. I mean, it depends, really.
Because the algorithm can say a lot about it, people, if you think about it.
I get a lot of thirst traps on my TikTok, so it's always just.
What was that thing they were doing?
Ass.
The girls
tits, ass.
were dancing with in their sweatpants and stuff, and the song changes, and they're like,
"Oh,
wasn't that a big trend?"
Is that the Bus It one?
I think so. Wasn't it?
Bus It.
Yeah. That's it.
Something like
Isn't
that.
That's the big thirst trap happening right now?
It's probably gotten me a couple times.
I know I saw a Twitter video where it was like when you're going in the car and all she hears, and it was just like you on the guy on the phone with like the Bus It like was just going. I don't know.
Yeah,
I saw a video on that. But
yeah, but hey, we're all men, except those who aren't men.
Oh my god, that TikTok algorithm though is scary sometimes with how like
it's
with its
you
suggestions.
Can see it, like you can see the suggestion. Maybe you click on a sound or something because you got thirst trapped, and then you'll close out of it because I don't know, the Lord is on your side or something, and you start scrolling. 2 TikToks later, you got something off that same sound. You got the same thing.
Yeah,
dude. They know exactly what you want. The minute you like something from Call of Duty, like 3 TikToks later, you get another Call of Duty TikTok.
Have you ever gotten something that you haven't seen on your feed before? It's the first time it comes up on your feed, and you're like, "Oh, I do like that."
Yeah.
I didn't know I did like that, but I do.
There's some things that I wish I hadn't seen on TikTok. There's some other.
Go into detail. Give us one. Give us one. Give us the lead. Yeah, give us one. Give us one.
I don't know. I saw some kid covered in tomato sauce the other day.
Oh.
Like his whole body. It was kind of weird.
That'd be a new trend.
I could have went my whole life without seeing it.
Better than eating Tide Pods.
I guess now I can say I have. I don't know about that.
I think it's substantially better to
death. Yeah, that's a good.
Cover yourself in tomato juice and sauce versus eat Tide Pods. Guess that's up for debate.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. Do you prefer eating Tide Pods or it's okay? Just tell us.
This isn't even live streamed or anything.
You'll figure it out. Follow us on our socials and then get back to us.
He runs the show now. It's his. That's it. Yeah.
You said what?
That's it. You run the show now. It's all yours
I'm
now.
running the show.
Yeah.
All right. You a tits or an ass guy?
Wow, this is where we're going. I'm an ass guy.
I was asking the audience.
Oh, well, that's awkward. Now y'all know. That's what I would go with. So,
which one did you say?
You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, I had my line ready.
In case you guys didn't get
it. say the joke again. For me, not for the audience.
I would say I'm more of an ass guy though.
I think there's a lot more like usability, utility. It just has more uses. I think you profit more off of it.
There's more.
But there's nothing wrong with tits. I think every guy's gonna say,
there's more versatility.
There is a lot of you could appreciate. Thing is,
that's
tits.
What you just
sorry, girls, if they're listening to this, but tits, you were born with that shit, and it just is what it is. And then an ass, you kind of got to work for that. I mean, I'm sure there are some.
That is my view.
But you got to work for it. So it's a lot more impressive. You can't work your tits out.
Yeah.
Well, you could hit chest, but it'd be kind of weird.
Would it be? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't want square boobs.
They would go square?
Think of like male pectoral muscles. That's the same as women. They just have boobs over top. They have
I just never really thought about
glands.
I just never really thought about it in that sense.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've just never looked at it in that sense.
Definitely a lot more utility. Definitely a lot more impressive.
To each his own, but yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure. That's where I lean. Yeah, for a while I was like in the middle. I was like, I don't care, and then one day it was just like, Guess that's the way I'm going now.
It's easy to fuck a girl with no tits. But it's a lot harder to with no ass.
This is wise words right there.
Quote me on that.
It's going to be the promo for the podcast.
Perfect. Good Lord. I'd love to see it.
What do you think about the legalization of marijuana? Think it's coming? Do you think Democrats are going to pass it? Think it's coming?
Well, actually, the House recently passed a bill, I believe, that said something that would decriminalize, I think, all drugs and make marijuana legal, or maybe it was just legalize marijuana, something along those lines.
I thought it decriminalized marijuana.
The House passed. Yeah, it was to federally decriminalize marijuana. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. And the House passed it, and Mitch McConnell was like, I'm not even going to let that hit the Senate floor. We're not even going to vote on that. He just totally knocked it down.
They could bring it back up, though.
And the thing is, it needs to be a new bill at that point, I think.
They could read it.
I believe it either it goes back to the House and they have to vote on it again, or they have to redo
not
the
if
bill.
He tables
I think
it
gets
if he which is probably what he did, because that's the only way you can really kind of bury something so deep they can't pull it back up is you table it, and it gets kind of put into this like a metaphorical bin of and it's just at the
graveyard.
Bottom of it basically it's a graveyard, because there's this whole process of trying to bring something out once you table it. And if I'm correct, I don't know. I wouldn't even want to say that because I don't know if it goes in order or not. But there's so much shit that is tabled that it's at the bottom of the barrel basically once it gets tabled.
But I definitely think it should be legalized federally. I don't think it makes a lot of sense not to. Right? You make an absurd amount of money off of it tax wise. So even if you don't,
I think that's what they're going for now. That's
even
the
if
main
you don't
thing.
Agree with it, you're gonna
they
profit
want more money.
You're gonna. I mean. If you care about taxes, you believe that your tax money is going into these parks, going into these streets, then you might as well let other people smoke weed and enjoy the nice road, the new road.
But your money is not going to roads or children or hospitals.
It's
going to the military.
So I definitely think it should be, as well as it'll drop incarceration rates by a lot. It'll stop us from kind of feasting on these other communities or these impoverished communities. And I feel like there will only be a lot of positive benefits for it. I mean, you don't need any new laws around it. I mean, if you get pulled over while you're high, then it's still a DUI. And I mean, I think a lot of people can agree on that. But you know what? We don't need a lot of new laws really to enact it. And the whole reason it was illegal, made illegal in the first place, was totally racist. And one guy who owned a big paper company. You know about that?
I believe they had the substitute for paper on some hemp thing.
Yeah, so hemp is one of the most utilized versatile plants that you can make.
Talk about versatility.
You can make cement out of it. You can make boats out of it. You can make paper out of it. You can make oil out of it that you can burn like kerosene. You can use it for protein. You can smoke it. I mean, you can do.
It does have a lot of. If you go deep into the beneficial,
There's this guy in the 1930s. I can't remember his name, William something. He basically he owned a printing and news company, as well as he owned basically tons of basically he owned lots of paper products, paper mills, wood mills, things like that, and they were also having a problem with immigration at the time, I believe. Maybe not. Maybe they just didn't like it. Could be one way or the other. But either way, they started to do something about it. And and marijuana was also kind of. This could be incorrect, so don't take it for what it is. But I believe
these are facts. Tyler. We only tell the truth.
I believe it.
Our listeners know that.
I believe marijuana was part of I'm gonna say Mexican culture. And for a while, I don't think there's a fond opinion on it anymore in their culture, but I think that was a thing back in the day. And I know that was part of the thing with legalizing it, was a way that they could basically just throw people out of the country because they had weed on them at the time.
You're talking about in the States?
Yeah, in the U.S. to deport immigrants who would come here. I don't know if that's necessarily completely true, but either way, it was a way for them to kind of take out all these people that they thought were a menace to society, and then this guy didn't lose all of his money in paper. They did that in the 30s. He also funded all of these movies and all of this media
to promote against it.
Against it, and there became this bad mantra within like 50 years, and people believe it, and people don't look into it. And the thing about it too is a lot of drugs that like are out on the street, like psychedelics or weed or other things like that, like we can't even do medical studies with a lot of this stuff because it's illegal. And
that's
so
what's crazy about it.
There could be all these health benefits to all these drugs, and maybe there's not. And fuck it, if there's not, then it's the same as all these other drugs that we've looked up. But if there's uses for these things, like I've seen there's been a lot of work with people who suffer from PTSD and using psychedelics that it helps them get through that really well.
They actually use Molly to help them talk about it and stuff.
Yeah, so I really definitely think that there's a lot of uses that we could use these like drugs for, but it's just cut off because there's a lot of people who have such a negative connotation around it. And I mean, within the right context, right? Like we don't want people out doing heroin and things like that and opiates. I think opiates are probably the most destructive and worst street drug that there is. I mean, we need them for people who are in a lot of pain and things like that. And that's why we produce like stronger ones. But like the company that created fentanyl, like we needed fentanyl as a product itself, but they abused it. I think in the beginning they put it in lollipops and people would suck on them and their mouth. I swear to God, like when it
I don't doubt that at all.
They literally it was like anyone could get it at one point in time when it first came out, and then they overproduced it and people got hooked on it. And I'm pretty sure that pharmaceutical company has had to pay millions and billions of dollars in restitution.
And if I'm correct, the cartels have been making different types of fentanyl. Like every time they get caught making one, they just change like one chemical subset to make this new fentanyl.
Could be. I know
because it's I feel bad. Yeah, maybe it isn't fentanyl. But I know I'm pretty positive it is, and it's just like it's very easy for them very easy to manipulate compared to other drugs. So it's very easy to make fentanyl type B, C, D. Like,
it is very easy. It's pretty much it's barely any more expensive than heroin is, and it's like 100 times more potent. So you need much less of it. So it's essentially a better deal. So that's why a lot of people are using it, and then it's also the strongest thing on the market. That's what everyone gets addicted to. But the thing is too with like the cartel and things like that is a lot of them grow in like California now because they can be in the United States already and operating in the United States, and if they get in trouble for it, it's not like a federal crime because they're in a legal state. Yeah. So it just becomes like something they can kind of get out of or go back to Mexico, or maybe not Mexico, sorry, Colombia or wherever they are from, and they can just live back there. Like they can be fine. It's not that big of a deal. So like if we were to make it legal, we would ensure that the substance that people are getting, there's not a lot of pesticides on it or things like that other people may have put on it that were, if they were operating a grow house, they may have put pesticides on it, and you don't want to be smoking that. So it would also stop the cartel from bringing in a lot. I mean, if we really want to, this whole war on drugs, why don't we just decriminalize it, and then these people won't really come into us anyways. Especially with weed, specifically with weed. I mean, cocaine's the other big one, but cocaine's not going to be illegal.
And that's the big argument is like if we legalized everything, they wouldn't have that market anymore.
Not necessarily but obviously legalized, but decriminalized, yeah.
Well, if decriminalize it would probably increase their, well, not that it needs, it would definitely increase.
But you can't like go to the store and just like buy heroin. That's just enabling.
No, I'm not saying we should, but that's the argument is like, well, if it's there in a dose that's reasonable, like it's not gonna kill people. People have said that, but because then the cartels can't operate anymore because they can't compete in a sense. But at the same time, like one of my big worries with weed being legalized is if like the states start to tax it too much, and then you follow the issue that the cartels still might be able to undercut the price.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing as of right now too, because like you could go to in California, right? Or I haven't been to a legal state, or at least I have, but I haven't like been to a dispensary or anything. But I think it's like sometimes $12 a gram, if not more than that at times. If
not more, yeah.
And you have to pay tax on top of that, whereas you could go anywhere on the street and get it for 10 at least. So like that's already a thing, but part of that is like I don't know. I could probably make alcohol in my bathtub like Pruno if I wanted to, but I'd rather just spend $27 and go to go to the liquor store, you know. So I feel like a lot of people, even if it is legalized, I don't think it'll really affect too many people in the sense of that they won't buy it just because it's a bit more expensive. They'd rather. I think there'd be a lot less street dealers and things like that. So it might be even you might necessarily not even have the same level of access to it. Right? Like,
yeah, I think there would be a lot less. I do, because I think a lot of those guys would be like, "Oh, I can go work at a weed shop now,
yeah,
or I can go do something else." But now I don't have to worry about the like police barging into my apartment at any given moment. Like, yeah, I mean, if I was in that situation, they definitely would stop. I'd be like, "There's no point in me doing this now."
I just don't think we should be locking up people for drugs or for what people decide that they want to put in their body, whether it's a good substance or a bad substance. I feel like just locking them up isn't going to help them in it at all. It also creates a very negative image on, like, imagine if the only thing that makes you happy is heroin, and then these people just lock you in a cell, and then you can't have your heroin, so you get out, and then that's all you want, and you just have a bad image of these people who are putting you in the cell because that's all they do with you, and they don't actually give you help. I mean, there are some good programs out there and things like that. I'm not talking like generally, but just kind of overall, like, I think that decriminalizing a lot of drugs and not just locking people up for what they choose to put in their body would be a much more beneficial use of our tax dollars in the criminal justice system. I just don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very valid argument to be had. I mean, it comes, especially when you bring it down to the personal level and the personal choice of the individual. I mean, it's like the same exact thing with, the abortion laws. Like, that's what one side is saying. One side is saying it's really not anybody's right to say what the person wants to do with their body. And it's a valid argument for each one of them.
I just feel like they've been outlawed drugs have been criminalized for so long, and people still do them. Everybody smokes weed.
Yeah.
Everybody does other drugs. Like, why don't we just try decriminalizing it? I don't think more people are going to necessarily, or I don't think a whole lot of more people are going to be, like, if weed becomes federally legalized, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to start smoking weed all of a sudden, and it's not going to change our culture really. It's just going to be.
I don't think it would change culture at all.
I think people.
I mean, it's already super big within the culture.
Like, I think everything's pretty much going to stay the same.
It's there's an argument to be had with that, and there's an argument to be had with other drugs. Like, there's some festivals that are known to have like a test kit station on site there's some people running a tent, and they let you literally just test what you have, so that you are having pure shit, and at that point it's really kind of on you not to overdose. It's up to the individual, but it's better than like buying Molly and then you got
like,
fentanyl.
People are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that's the logic behind it is, well, if you're going to do it no matter what, we're just going to make sure you have the better stuff that isn't going to kill you. And
yeah, no, absolutely,
like, that's, at least it's like, you won't be surprised that it's this is meth now. Like, no, you know what you're getting, and it is an argument to be had for it. I mean, there really is.
Absolutely.
Yo, man, we've done about an hour 20 here, so I think it's time we give a little call here. All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, dude.
That's good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I've loved my time here. You have such a nice place.
We really worked on getting the shelving up and everything. It's coming together slowly but surely.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, you'll come on again sometime. So
it sounds good to me.
All right, man.
Peace.